Right, so I'm on one of the storage cells. It runs Linux. It runs this special secret source software, which if you log on, it's Java-based application. The only way that, or the only supported way that you're allowed to go and do anything with it from an administration point of view is via the CLI. So they use self-CLI to jump on and talk to the Exadata special source. And I have to call it that because that's as much as I know. So you have a command line interface to it, a whole bunch of commands that you can do to poke around and find that stuff. It keeps its own metrics as well. As far as we're concerned, from going back to that diagram,
do customers do very much with those directly?
Yeah, I mean in terms of the only reason you might go on there is if you are swapping a disk.
You are sorry, what? Swapping?
For replacing a disk, so if you had a failed piece of hardware. So I'm on here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the physical disks, the cell disks and the grid disk very quickly. So here's each of our 12 physical disks within the Exadata storage cell, the X4270M3, and then each of our flash cache modules, which are 96 gig in size. With the Exadata storage cells, you have the option of high capacity or high performance. The high capacity are 600 gig disks. The high performance have gone up to, I think, 2 or 3 terabytes in size, depending on what you want to go down. So each of these disks are then sliced up into the cell disks. So the same as any volume manager software, you can slice and dice up depending on use cases. With the fact that we've introduced the ability to use DB within zones within the Exadata domains, becomes interesting in that you only have the 4 storage cells or 8 storage cells within the half or full rack. And you may end up wanting to segregate out and have multiple databases. You may want to slice and dice the cells up to use for different departments, for different databases. So it's these grid disks which are seen by ASM, which are presented via the InfiniBand over IDS, the protocol used. To be used by the ASM instance running on the CRS node. Unfortunately, some of this stuff is like watching paint dry. It's not very exciting. It's looking over someone's shoulders or something. So, if there's any feedback of anything specific you want to look at that I can do in more detail, for example, looking at the Exadata. Perhaps you want to see some timings of some database creation. Perhaps you want to see some. Well, we use a lot of swing benchmarks. So I would have had time to show you one, but we haven't got time. One thing I do want to say before we all run off for food is we're talking about the different multiple domain configuration choices, and the InfiniBand switches are providing an InfiniBand fabric. With Exadata, we only make use of the default FF partition. With the fact that we make use of the ZFS storage, we may have cluster involved. We have 2 versions of cluster running in S10 and S11 domains. We want to segregate that traffic for the interconnects. So we create these InfiniBand partitions on the IB switches. Who thinks there's too much to take in an hour and a half? Yeah. It's taken Keith and I taken me 2 years to get to grips with the multitude of components within SuperCluster and the multitude of technology that's involved. Because anything you think can run on Solaris in terms of technology runs in SuperCluster. Plus we've got the added complexity of now InfiniBand in the loop as far as we're concerned, our experience. There's ZFS storage appliance, cluster, rack, just a lot to stick in.
So in terms of maintenance, where I guess the infrastructure, the switches, everything, do you come and patch that, and that's a job for Oracle, or is that?
You have choice in terms of your support contract. I didn't want to talk about this because this is...
No, I
will briefly mention it. We have...
Good question.
You can either do it as part of your, if you feel comfortable and understand the technology, and there's lots of stuff to take in.
Because most people have a method for their OSs, they're running OSs.
Absolutely.
But there's also all this underlying infrastructure as well.
So, I mean, of course, the quarterly patch update doesn't just contain Solaris ILOM and Solaris package, it contains Exadata, storage cell, software patch upgrades, and Exadata database and CRS patches, and if need be, the IB switches. Now, Oracle does this platinum support agreement, no extra costs on your Premier support thing, where they'll actually patch it every quarter for you, to take the pain away from you.
You have to go to Premier support.
Yeah, exactly. And I have no idea how much it costs. So.
If you can afford a SuperCluster, you can.
Yes.
Don't
Yes.
care about price.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, they're actually cheaper than Exadata.
So I'm going to ask something, maybe it's bold question, because I'm doing this. So Exadata just work in Sun,
In Sun.
in Sun Solaris.
Exadata, you have
Choices.
choices in terms of the OS you run on the compute node only. Obviously, the Exadata storage cells are Linux based. They are black box as far as us and stuff. With Exadata, since the X22 came out, and you have the ability to run Solaris. You have a choice. By default, it's Linux
Yes, yes.
on the compute nodes. So, where the database and CRS runs. So you can choose at install time whether you want to go in the Solaris route if you're more comfortable with Solaris. Obviously, it's x86, but they function.
So you can install in IBM, HP, or
Sorry, so that?
Exadata. You can install in other servers, IBM, HP, or only Solaris.
Only Solaris.
Only Solaris.
Solaris only.
Well, only Oracle hardware.
Yes.
I think. I'm not sure what the question is about the
Oh,
operating
sorry,
system.
No, it's because, as I said, it's new for me, this. So I've been running from the system is just a long time, years. But I mean, it's sometimes, so you said Exadata and everything is fabulous and everything, but you have to install it always in Solaris.
No, so the Exadata technology, which is the thing that eliminates I/O from your workload. Let's just call it that. So the component of your workload that was I/O and was maybe dominating your workload goes away if you choose an Exadata technology-based solution. Those solutions are available on x86-based Oracle hardware and on SPARC-based Oracle hardware. On SPARC-based Oracle hardware, you will be running Solaris on the compute nodes.
Okay.
On x86-based Oracle hardware, you will be running either Linux or Solaris on the compute nodes. The parts which are in the rack and which are providing the magic storage facility and are kind of opaque, you don't really mess with them very much, those always run Linux. But you really don't worry about those too much. So our customers have a choice. If they're traditionally a SPARC house, they can stay with SPARC. And if they need to do big threading scale, SPARC is sometimes a good solution for that. If they want to run Linux, if they've become a Linux shop over time, they can choose Exadata and stay with Linux. And there are some customers that have switched, and there are even some customers that have switched back and forth. So we don't mind.
Kind of depends on your company's ethos in terms of what flavour of Unix you want to run.
No, yes, I'm asking that because the side of the application, I'm more side of application. I find customers sometimes as they don't want to be hooked with a vendor. And unfortunately, when I was working with this company, we couldn't make a choice. So they were trying to install identity management, and they didn't want it because they wanted to use a lot of things. And I was telling him, so, yes, it's fine, but as you mentioned, this guy said, no, it's not my fault, it's not your fault. It's starting trying to cook many things. And I said, it's better. So we know that we maybe would cook, but it's better to have all the suite and not only one, because otherwise you are going to have the other vendor come to it and it's going to start having problems.
And that goes back to your first slide.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but this is more on the application side, so maybe here is the same. So I'm no Unix expert.
It's difficult to answer for a techie who works at Oracle. Yeah, I mean, it comes down to the business decision about how you want to run your IT infrastructure. One last, sorry, there's a question.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I just wanted to wrap up something for which we'll continue with
Sure.
the discussion. Now, a friend of mine just blocked me again and said, we've been having this debates in the office, and he says, how do D-Trace comes naturally, native into Solaris 11, and the ZFS appliance, how the D-Trace feature, and how do you claim about? How does it work out with?
So you're saying about if you're trying to diagnose something on the ZFS storage appliance? Yeah. Well, the ZFS storage appliance still runs Solaris, so you can.
Doesn't officially.
Well, okay.
It's a black box.
It's an appliance.
It happens to be the same source code.
You can log on to the storage appliance, get a shell,
and get the warning.
Yeah. The support folks don't like it, but yes, you can get on that, and yes, you can run dtrace. And some of the engineering folks, if they're trying to track down a difficult problem, will use it. You can also add in workflows and all sorts of other plugins to enable them to do it and tie in with across-the-wire snoops and
Analytics and trace.
Analytics is using dtrace under the hood. So which I think they prefer you to use because it's got more of an intuitive click down, drop down, drill down methodology rather than trying to. If you don't know what you're looking for with dtrace, you can get lost because effectively you can probe anywhere within Solaris, and if you're looking for a performance problem, where do you start? It's very difficult to say, I had a performance problem. We can talk about this over. I just want to show you one last thing.
We've only got a couple of minutes left on the old tape, so.
Only a couple of minutes?
Yeah, not well.
Very quickly then.
Interesting stuff happening.
Then I can talk you in properly. So, InfiniBand switches, they contain an InfiniBand fabric, and they contain a list of all the UIDs of the InfiniBand, the HCA cards on each of the components. Those are listed against specific partitions. As I said, we have a separate storage partition for accessing the ZFS storage appliance. So usually most of the components have access to them, the application domains. Actually the database domains do because we keep the repos on there for Solaris. We also have S10 interconnect partitions for if you wanted to run Solaris cluster on S10, and we have them for S11. Those are the default ones. Again, if you wanted to go down the more complex security, then you're talking about raising exceptions and getting in contact with the S-team folks to discuss why you want to do that. So, not really much of a demo in terms of, really difficult to try and demo SuperCluster working as per se. I can stay around for 5 minutes if anyone wants to go and eat some food, if you want to look at something specific, whilst I've got access to the box now because QA are going to steal it back. If you think of some things that you'd like to, then email me. I'm sure Joy can mail out my contact details, andyharrison@oracle.com. There you go. I've sold my email address now. Or if you have any other questions that I've not answered or you want more details, then let me know. There's an awful lot to take in. Sorry if it's appeared rushed. There's a lot of technology in there, and this is kind of an overview of what potentially you can do with it. I'm around till Joy stops selling food, so hopefully that was useful to
Thank you very much.